Alright, we're at the Crazy Horse Monument. It's still under construction. And you can take a bus to get there closer. And that's the state of construction in 2022. Now I'll try to relate to you another attraction that we saw in the Black Hills. It's near Mount Rushmore, and it's something I had not heard about before or had just learned about when we were reading up on South Dakota before we made our trip. But there's another memorial much, much bigger than Mount Rushmore. It will be when it's complete, that is a little to the south and a little to the west of Mount Rushmore. And it's been under construction for 74 years. And the main sculptor, who is no longer living, who started the construction and the design, is a man with a very Polish name. His name is Korczak Ziolkowski, and he was born to Polish immigrant parents in Boston. And then his parents both died in a boating accident. I was just reading in Wikipedia when he was 1 year old. So he was an orphan, and he grew up in orphanages and foster homes. And he never went to school to learn how to be a sculptor, but he became a premier sculptor. And he married a second wife who was helping him was volunteering to help build this sculpture. And they have 10 kids, and a lot of the kids have helped, and the grandchildren have helped. The project goes on, but it's been going on since 1947. He started the work after World War II. He was in World War II. And previous to World War II, he also worked on Mount Rushmore for the main sculptor there, John Gutzon Borglum. Another unusual name. Borglum was of Danish descent, but he was born in the US. And that project lasted roughly 14 years, from 1927, I'm talking about Mount Rushmore, in 1927 to 1941. And then with World War II coming on, everybody was distracted, and they said, you're pretty much done here with Mount Rushmore. So after the war, the Native American population in the South Dakota area, specifically the Oglala Lakota tribe, wanted to have their own monument that would be even much grander than Mount Rushmore. And they discovered Ziolkowski. He was getting to be a name person. He was very talented. And they got him to come, and since he was familiar with the Black Hills already, having worked on Mount Rushmore, they got him to start work on building this huge Crazy Horse Memorial, Crazy Horse was a sort of a mythical Lakota warrior. They don't know, maybe there really was a warrior named Crazy Horse, but they don't have a picture of what he looked like. So this is sort of a mythical portrayal of what a Lakota warrior looked like. So this is all amazing to me, that this whole big project has been going on for so long. So we knew that this place was here. We heard that they're only funding it by getting contributions to a restaurant. That's what we heard. And the proceeds from that would go to helping fund the construction of this monument. So when we happened to drive by the area, we go, okay, let's go and take a look. And it turned out to be a much bigger production than we imagined. First of all, you drive in on like a 4-lane highway. And when you go there, you discover, not until you get to the entry gates, that the admission charge is $30 per car. So you go, okay, that's good. It's helping contribute to this monumental sculpture. Do what we can to help support that. So then they have a very large visitor center on the order of forget what the name of that sporting goods store is that just is over the top. And we saw one when we were in Rapid City, South Dakota. And they're more common in the West, but I'll put the name on the screen. It doesn't come to me right now. But anyway, their visitor center and shopping complex where all the proceeds will help go towards the continuation and the completion of the sculpture is just huge. It's very well done. It's just beautiful inside, and you can walk around and look at art exhibits, and you can purchase souvenirs, but it's all very tastefully done. And they have a restaurant also, which we went to, and we had a nice late lunch. And you can look out from the restaurant and see the monument in the distance. And then at the end of the walking around, there's actually, I don't know whether it was his original house, the sculptor's house, that they've sort of built the visitor center onto, or whether they moved it to be right part of the visitor center. But you can walk through his house, which was very creative and very interesting, and has a lot of really interesting artistic artifacts and a piano and everything. They had a very interesting life living there and working on the sculpture. And then you can see some of his work outside, which is so impressive. But I think most people don't see that because they gone back to their cars, not having seen that part of the complex. But that was very impressive in and of itself, and you really gain an appreciation for how accomplished this sculptor Ziolkowski was. And they have a place where you can watch a movie about the construction, and it's very informative. But one thing that struck us, among many things about this, first of all, that it's been going on for 74 years, and it looks like it has a long way to go. We want to build, it's not just the head of an Indian warrior, but it's half of the body and the head of a horse that the warrior is riding on. And it's just gigantic when it'll be all done. And then there'll be a whole complex built at the base of the monument, and a whole university someday for Native American students. And it's all very impressive, and it looks like it's being well funded by this complex and the restaurant and paying admission tickets and everything. The one thing that struck us, though, is there was no mention in the movie of Native Americans helping this sculptor. It sounded like he was doing a lot of the work by himself, and then enlisting the help of his 10 children and his grandchildren to help. And also, when we walked around the visitor center and the shopping complex looking for Native American faces, everybody was friendly and everything, but it seemed like everybody who was working there was white. So it really got us that this is going to be a monumental sculpture monument to the Native American people, but we just did not see any Native American people helping build the sculpture or working in the shopping complex. It just struck us as odd. Something was missing there. And we also felt that it seemed like it was a small crew that has been working on this monumental sculpture, and I don't know if there could be more people working at one time on this gigantic sculpture, but maybe it's too complex to have a multitude of people working at one time. But it just struck us as that it's taken 74 years to get to the point it is now, and you can see from the scale models of what it'll look like, it'll take another 100 years the way it's going for this to be finished, and we won't be around to see the completion of this sculpture. I doubt anybody who's watching this video, no matter how young, will see this sculpture completed in their lifetimes. So it's really kind of mind-boggling that there aren't more hands on deck, more people helping to bring this sculpture to completion. And they've got a really well set up visitor center and restaurant, and they collect money for tickets, and there's probably a nonprofit organization that is also obtaining funds to help contribute to the project. And it's a great plan for a university and a whole complex, and for the statue, very impressive and everything, but it just seems like there needs to be more people actually working on the monument to bring it home and get it completed. I mean, Mount Rushmore, as monumental as that is, it took 14 years and they thought that was taking too long. And this has taken 74 years and it's 100 years to go. So it's a great plan. The original sculptor was so talented and put a lot of hard work and sweat into this project, and his family members. And so our concluding thought is just that the Native American community really has to step up and help build this monument, and then also be involved in the building of the university complex, which is a great plan, but more hands on deck are needed. So it was just another interesting attraction that we saw in South Dakota, one of many. And I hope by watching this video you've learned about something that might be less well known but is still very significant and very interesting. So thank you for watching.